Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Post 3 and Depot Street. Truck boy intercept.
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome to Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me is Jacob Litton. First of all, Jacob and I just want to thank everybody for listening. Just want to remind you that you can reach us on Twitter, check out our YouTube channel. We've been uploading more videos. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to upload a video on the JMO 37-yard touchdown catch and also the Brian Branch interception. I think are the two plays that I want to focus on. So you can go check that out. What an eventful game. Let's just put it that way, Jacob. An eventful game. Totally exhilarating and then totally deflating at the same time. So we're going to get into talking about this 47-9 victory for the Lions. Still crazy to say that, 47-9. Detroit Lions victory over the Cowboys. But before we get into the game, let's talk about two major stories that's going on with Lions first, the Hutch injury and the Montgomery extension. Jacob, why don't you tell us about that Hutch injury and how your feelings are on that?
Devastated, obviously. I know that you were at work, so you didn't have the same kind of timeline and everything that I did, but when it happened live at first, I could tell when he took his gloves off. Like, this is bad. He thinks it's bad. And it cut to commercial. I thought it was probably a knee injury. And then when they came back from break, they didn't even want to show the replay. So then I knew it had to be much worse. They got the cart and the air cast, and that's just absolutely deflating on a day where pretty much everything else was going our way. I mean, top to bottom, look at every aspect of the game. We just were killing it. Played awesome. It's not very often you can win 47-9 and still have a pit in your stomach when the game is over.
Yeah, the thing is when they flashed back in the first commercial break, because it was the timeout was so long that they had like two commercial breaks for the injury.
Right.
But when you see the card out there, you're just like, oh man, when it didn't look good. And then when they announced they wouldn't even show the replay, we're like, oh God. My only thing was I'm hoping that is just, I say just, but I was hoping it was just a broken bone and nothing involving the knee, because I figured the knee, that would just compound things even longer and could be a longer lasting injury. So as it stands right now, he broke his tibia and his fibula. They're expecting a full recovery. At least that was a press release from the Lions today. So that was good news. Dan Campbell's press conference said he just mentioned the timeline of 4 to 6 months. That's a general timeline for this injury. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything the doctor said or anything like that. It's all an estimation right now. So 4 months, that puts him right back at the Super Bowl. So when we make the Super Bowl, he can come back for that game, and what a story that would be, right?
That would be insane. I mean, that's obviously on the speedier side of things, but there were no complications during the surgery from what we've heard. Everything really went well. It's just about healing and recovery. And I know Campbell said if anybody was going to be able to do that and come back, he's not counting Hutch out, it would be him.
Yep.
You know, obviously there's a certain aspect of that, the healing. It's not really up to Hutch. It's not anything that he can do, but the type of player that he is, he wants to come back full strength as soon as possible. Whether that's in the cards to be this year, it may not be, but you're right. What a great storyline that would be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hutch is going to put in the work. Whatever he has to do to get on the field, he's going to do. Whether it be this season or next season, he's going to work harder than anybody else to get back from an injury. So I have no doubt that he's going to be able to do that, but might be out of his power. But you know what he should do? He should talk to Aaron Rodgers' doctor, because he was about to come back from that Achilles injury in like a week. And it was...
Don't do that.
Yeah. Go on the dark retreat, man. You'll make it back. No, as far as replacing Hutch, it's not going to be...
I know we have
player.
differing opinions about this.
Yeah. No, that's fine. We'll talk about it. But it's not going to be one player, right? It's just not going to be one player. It's going to be a combination of players. It's going to probably be some changes in some scheme. to facilitate a change in player. Because I mean, Hutch had 90% of snaps, high level performance. You're not going to just find a guy off the street and just to replace that, or find a guy in the practice squad to replace that. You're not going to be able to do that. So they're going to have to do some stuff to change it up. What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, obviously it's devastating for the team. It's devastating for Hutchinson as a player because he was playing all pro level. He was playing defensive player of the year level. Like, those were his aspirations, and he was maintaining that pace. That's what he was doing. That's what we have to replace. We've already lost Davenport. We've lost Derek Barnes. Now we've lost Hutchinson. We're completely decimated on the defensive line as far as the edge goes. Levi does what he can out there, as does Josh Pascal. They're both kind of power rushers, where Hutchinson was much faster getting in there. I think that we have to explore a trade. We have to see what's out there. We've got to get somebody else in the building. I don't think that we can have an effective pass rush with the players that we have right now.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Our line, Levi's been pretty good. I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to play at the same level that we're playing.
It's impossible to play the same level that we're playing.
It is, and no doubt about that. But you could change scheme, you could change things up. Brian Branch is a very versatile player. We could end up sending him on more blitzes, disguising coverages a little bit differently. There's a lot of things that can be done. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, or it's just it's going to be next week they're going to have this fixed or figured out. That's not going to happen. I don't have any ideas that that's going to happen, but I will say from last year that our coverage is better than last year. Right. I would say that this defense, even without Hutch, may be just as good as last year. We've added Levi, who is playing really, really well. Aleem had an amazing game yesterday. That was against Zach Martin. That wasn't against some scrub offensive lineman. That was Zach Martin. I know he's a little banged up, but Aleem was playing against, a top offensive guard in this league. Now you've added DJ Reader, which is different than last year. He's going to take those double teams, which it may free up an edge. Is this where we figured out how to use James Houston, where if we just need a pass rush and James Houston can relax? You're shaking your head, so obviously you don't agree with that.
I think the James Houston experiment's just about over, man. He's had his chances. Do you really trust James Houston to go out there? And I mean, we've talked about this several times. That's all he can do is pass rush, and he wasn't doing it at a very effective level.
I'm always going to look at the positive end of this and what could possibly happen. He was looking at his opportunity 2 weeks ago when he got on the active roster. He had those offsides, was huge. I think he had 2 penalties in that game. He was pushing, and he was trying to make a statement that he belongs on the team. Now, let's just say that maybe some of the pressure's off because they're going to have to turn to him. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's in the realm of possibilities. Let's just say that could happen. So, I mean, they have people that they could turn to. I still think Aleem played really well, so we're going to need him. I think Pascal's played really good on the opposite edge as far as like holding an edge. Now, if you watch Uku, when he came in, it's hard to judge on this because it was all, you knew they were going to pass. So they're just pinning their ears back and just running. He was out of position on run, whereas Hutch, I honestly think we're going to miss Hutch in the run game stoppage too, because he just is so good at diagnosing plays and just so athletic that he can rush and then be ready for that. So I think we're going to see some stuff in the rush game too. But I do see some level for Jack Campbell's gotten better. And with Brian Branch, and we're going to get to talk about him later on when we get to this defense. He's a difference maker on this defense. And you could see the one game that he's out, which was Seahawks game, our defense looked totally different in that game. Our secondary looked totally different. So I am not a doomsday person that this is our Super Bowl shot's over. I don't feel that. It's going to certainly be a harder road, but our offense is unreal. And if he can play anywhere to this level that it just played the last 2 weeks, then we can outscore people. And just let's go take us a couple stops, because most teams are not going to be able to stop this offense playing at the high level that they're playing right now.
Absolutely. The season's over because of Hutch. I'm not thinking that at all. I just think that the window is open right now, especially because of how well the offense is doing and the defense is playing well. We have a huge test next week. We're obviously not going to, if that is the move to get a different guy in here, we're not going to do it before next week, or he's not going to be able to play effectively before next week. So we're going to see what the defense looks like without Hutchinson for at least this game against the Vikings, which is a pretty big test. I'm also not on board with some names floating out there. Obviously, Max Crosby always comes up. Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson. There's a bunch of names out there that are potentially available. I don't like the idea of having to trade multiple first-round picks to get a guy here either. So I am in the thought that we do need to get somebody else here. But if it's too expensive or too pricey, then we kind of have to let it roll with who we have and what we've got in that locker room. Obviously, the coaching staff is still confident in the guys that they have there, but we're going to see. We're going to find out.
We will. I mean, if you're going to talk about trading either Max, Trey, or Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett, the only reason they're going to do that is Brown's going to try to recoup some. They're just going to just cash it all in. I don't think that he's going to
take Deshaun Watson with him.
Yeah. Max Crosby thing is the only thing that's a true 1-for-1 where you could just stick Max in there. He plays the same amount of percentage of plays as Hutch, and he plays at a similar high level as Hutch. So that'd be the only one that you would stick in there. The Raiders, they're going to want at least 2 first-round picks. And then you got to think about, okay, say we do that. Not only do we give up 2 first-round picks, but then we're going to pay Max, which is $20 million.
Right.
Next year, we're going to most likely, we're going to try to re-sign Hutchinson or extend him. Then are you going to pass on Aleem and Levi? Because you're probably not going to be able to pay everybody on that front $20 million a year. It's probably just not possible unless you're going to mortgage everything in the future. So, and then Trey Henderson wants a big contract, so you got the money thing there too. So, and I don't really think Trey's going to be available. I don't think the Bengals. They're only like a half game out or a game out on their division. They're not going to wash this thing that way unless something drastic happens in the next couple weeks. As far as like a team injury, Joe Burrow gets hurt or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know about how realistic a trade now. If I find out tomorrow Max is on a plane to Detroit, yep, probably buying his jersey. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's move on to some little more cheery. The David Montgomery extension. Just signed a 2-year contract extension worth $18.25 million. It comes with 10.5 guaranteed. What do you think when you heard the news that he's getting that, Jacob?
Oh, ecstatic, right? I mean, this is a guy we love. We definitely want him to be on the team in the future. He's an important part of the dynasty that we're building. And, I mean, he's just such an effective runner. The Sonic and Knuckles thing he's got going on with Gibbs. And, I mean, even after he signs a contract, some of these guys, once they sign these contracts, they seem to start playing softer. They're not always playing to their full potential. He did not miss a step at all in this game. He just came out the same way, just fiery, just angry runs.
He played really well last year, but he has played at a different level this year. He is so hard to take down. It's, Dan Campbell made the comment that he came in and just blew away the conditioning test, and they barely broke a sweat. It's obvious that David Montgomery took the "it takes more" seriously and came in before training camp and was ready to go. And when you have a team full of guys like that, or leaders that just show guys, hey, you can't take plays off, you can't take the off season off. This are professional. This is how you do things. That's why the Lions gave him the extension. They signed him for a really good deal. I mean, basically a steal. 3 years, $18 million for the production that he's providing. That was an absolute steal. When you look at like DeAndre Swift's making $9 million a year or whatever he's making over in Chicago. Dan Montgomery is probably playing. Derrick Henry's having an unreal year, so I'm not going to put him above that. But you can't find me too many more running backs that are playing at the level that David Montgomery is consistently playing at. And it only helps us that we have Gibbs in there so that David Montgomery is just not taking a ton of wear and tear. because he's not afraid of contact, but he's also so elusive that he'll dodge contact too, or just break tackles. So he had a 3-year, $18 million with 8.75 guaranteed. So this extension is essentially doubles what he was going to be making. And it's still modest. I mean, for his last 2 years, it's $9 million a year, again, for the production. He'll be 31 at the end of the deal. I think two things. David Montgomery is a hard worker. So, like, if you have a guy that puts in the work, that reduces injury risk and just prolongs their career. And you got Gibbs in there at the same time. So he's not a bell cow where he's carrying it 30 times a game. He doesn't have to carry it 30 times a game, 20 touches, and he gets a proper rest, and then Gibbs comes in and does his thing. It's lined up pretty well for the Lions. I'm really happy they're able to just extend these guys. It was really weird to sign him like 4 games into the year to get this extension. It's obvious that he wants to be here. It's obvious that we want him here. I'm glad the Lions were able to do it.
Yes, for sure. I mean, that's a great point too with him and Gibbs. They both are staying fresher. They're taking turns on drives. They're not so much trading out just by individual plays too. When they're out there, they're usually out there for an extended series. Demo, he only played 21 snaps in this game. And he had a huge game, very effective game. And then he only played 21 snaps. I mean, that's how, we said before, that's how you have a longer career. You keep yourself healthy, you keep yourself effective because you don't have to be out there. Some of these running backs, when they're effective, they get out there and they're playing 75, 80% of the snaps in a game. Even if they're not carrying it every time, if they're in pass protection, your body's taking hits, you're taking wear.
No, it's a great point. Yeah, because even if you're out there still in pass protection, you're still, I mean, you might take a bigger hit in pass protection than you do running out. If you run outside and run out of bounds or
right.
Just get tackled. I mean, those linebackers, especially if they're a free runner, they're coming full speed right into you, and you gotta line up. So I mean, those are big hits too that don't necessarily go on the stat sheet because they're not tackles or anything like that. But great for Demo. I love it. I love that we've rewarded him. He deserved it. I mean, he outplayed his contract last year, and so far this year, he's just outplayed it. And the Lions didn't have to do this. They could have waited, and then they could have franchised him if they really wanted to get him 4th year or whatever they wanted to do. They just decided to do the right thing and take care of their guy and reward. And I think it helps other guys too. Hey, if I play well, if I do all these things, then yeah, I'm going to get paid too. And the Lions are going to wait to only when it benefits the Lions. I mean, I'm not saying this didn't benefit the Lions, but it benefited Montgomery more than the Lions at this point, I think.
Right. And it sends a message. You're right. This is what we're about. We take care of our own. And this performance isn't surprising to us because we talked about this in training camp too. It's funny looking back now because we were kind of concerned about Jack Campbell and Anzalone because it was like, man, they're not able to bring him down. David Montgomery just doesn't go down, even in training camp. Training camp practice, he was like, you're not going to tackle me. I'm not going to be easy. If we're in the open field, I'm not going down. And he's playing that way every week.
Yep. He just came right in and just this season, and it's different. Last year, he was good, and he had a really good season. 1,000-yard back, even sharing with Gibbs. He got 1,000 yards. He's playing even better this year.
Yes, definitely. Getting better and better every week.
We've already touched on the Hutch injury. That's obviously the biggest takeaway for this game. So let's move on to some other stuff. What were your overall thoughts in the game? Anything that stuck out to you?
I mean, in all fairness, it wasn't the Cowboys' fault about the call that happened last year, but we played like it was. We played like it was their fault. We're going to take it out on you. And it was just right from the jump. It was just evident that we're just on another level and they really could not hang with us. Kind of did what we want at will. It, like we said, top to bottom, almost a perfect game. Everything that we were wanting was going our way. We were effective. Ben Johnson was opening up his bag. We really wanted the offensive lineman to score, right? There were a couple of plays there. It's like we tried to throw to Decker. Panay had that touchdown called back. They had let Dan Skipper run a play at wide receiver. How embarrassing is that for the Cowboys? Just Jerry Jones actually said afterward too, like, I forget exactly what the quote, but it was just something along the lines of like, it's so much worse when you're losing and the other team's having fun at your expense. He said the Lions were having fun at our expense. And that was apparent to everybody watching that game, is that we knew we were taking it to them. We were having fun. We were trying trick plays, doing whatever we could, and it was working. It was just a dominant performance.
My feeling isn't so much that we were picking on the Cowboys. I mean, I think we were. I think this game just going in, it's the game of the week or whatever. And I really felt that they said America's eyes are going to be on us. We're going to show them what the Lions are all about. And that's why they whipped out all these trick plays. I mean, part of it is response to last year, but I don't think that's solely it. I think that they had made their mind up this week that, okay, we're America's game of the week this week. Our offense was clicking last week. They had a great week of practice. We're just emptying the bag and just showing the America what we're all about. And also, let's say we're going to show the Vikings what we're all about because we're going to face them next week, right? Let's give them a lot more stuff to study on tape and prepare for in this upcoming week. Let's let them think about the toss to Sewell. Let's let them think about whatever other trick that we're going to pull on them. That was an ulterior motive to this. This game plan is, okay, we got the Vikings coming up. They're going to have to see this too, as well as all of America.
Yeah, I mean, how do you prepare for that? You're looking at game film for a team. It's like, okay, well, maybe they're going to run this hook and ladder play. Maybe they're going to run reverse. Maybe they're going to pitch it back to the quarterback and they're going to go to their tight end. There's just all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of different formations we were throwing at them. You're right. I mean, they just really, really mix it up. We threw a little bit of everything out there. I wonder did we show too much? Like, do we still, if we're showing all of those things right now, how much more do we have hidden in the bag of tricks?
And I think that's it, right? I mean, that just scares the heck out of you, right? If you're a defensive coordinator, if we're up by 4 touchdowns and we're throwing to Sewell, or we're throwing in hook and ladder to Sewell, what other plays are we holding out for later on in the year? They can run that Sewell play later on. You're never going to prepare for that. You're never going to be able to prepare for that. Those hook and ladder plays or those lateral plays, yes, they're high risk too. But if you practice them and you're ready for them, and you get the right defense, they're really hard to guard because you're taught as a defense, attack the ball. So you're running to that ball carrier. They want all 11 to go to that ball carrier. And then all of a sudden, you got, in the case of Gibbs, when they did the hook and ladder play, you got a guy that runs a 4-3 running the opposite direction of you. It's impossible to stop. I mean, Sewell's running at one of the cornerbacks, and I'm like, oh my God, he had to be like a deer in headlights. I don't want to tackle this guy.
Right. And I mean, people may not notice a whole lot, but I mean, because Sewell obviously had to report as eligible like before that, but we do that consistently. It's not like we report as eligible once or twice a game where people think they know something's up. We do it several times, so they don't know what's up. And that's why that play last year should have worked with Decker.
Yeah, and it should have, and it did. Just Brad Allen's a moron. So, I mean, he ruined it. It wasn't the Cowboys, but we took it out on the Cowboys like it was the Cowboys. Right. Couple things that I'll nitpick on this game. Lions still had 8 penalties for 63 yards. It's still more than we want. We gave up like 4 first downs again on penalties. So that's something that we still need to clean up. You know, Terry Arnold certainly cleaned up his game. He had a great game, probably his best game his rookie season here. No DPIs, no holding. So really happy for him. He actually got that fumble recovery on
he had a 4th down stop too. Good coverage on a 4th down.
Yep, I remember that. And that was questionable whether that could have been pass interference. They were certainly letting them play a lot more this game than the other. We can go with that Tim Patrick play at the beginning. It was clearly pass interference on the Cowboys, and luckily one of those if he wouldn't have caught that, you could see a late flag coming out on that. You know, sometimes the ref is like, "Oh, he caught it. I'm not even going to worry about it." So, the other thing that I found very curious, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It's 2:40 left in the half. The Lions are up 20-3. Cowboys are at their own 38, and they go for it. What do you think was the thought process there?
When the Cowboys went for it?
The Cowboys went for it, you know.
They knew what was about to happen. You're getting killed.
Well, it was 20-3 at that point. I mean, that's not out of
Maybe on the scoreboard it doesn't, but I think that if you're at the stadium or if you're watching the game and you're seeing how it's going, they knew they needed something fast. Obviously, that's a pretty big dice roll there because you're just allowing us to be even closer. Inevitably going to score more points if they didn't make it there.
Yep.
You would have thought they had a really good play call or something they liked that they were really going to run on fourth down, and it was not a good play call either. I don't know what they were thinking, but I think Mike McCarthy was already sensing the urgency. Like, we have to make something happen right now. They were just overmatched. I mean, they couldn't, their offensive line's not very good in pass protection. We know that. And we saw that for sure. They couldn't run the ball. So therefore they couldn't open up any sort of play action, any sort of relief for Dak. So we know they're throwing it every time. And that's easy to play defense like that. They were just overmatched.
Yeah, they were. It's just very curious to me that you're basic because the game was done at that point because we scored. They gave it up. We went and scored touchdown 27-3 at halftime. I mean,
and we get the ball back.
And we got the ball back and we scored like immediately on that drive. So it was curious decision. I'm wondering what the Cowboys nation saying. I mean, they're already on Mike McCarthy, so I'm sure that's being talked about. But I found it very curious. I would not have been happy with Dan Campbell going for it at that point. That's, to me, you're just giving away the game if you don't get it, and they didn't get it. And especially, well, if they had any sort of running game, I could see Dan Campbell going for it on 4th and 2 because,
right.
I mean, we could run demo with our offensive line. We could do that. The Cowboys knew they were going to have to pass, and they're hoping for a penalty too. I'm sure that's why they threw it Terrion's way. They're hoping that they get a penalty on that, and they could have because he was all over him.
Right.
And I think another game, a different set of referees, they probably do throw the flag there, but went the Lions' way. Not going to complain about it. That's awesome and good for Terrion.
Yeah, I mean, once again, he was playing the ball. It was a bang play. You're right. I think they let them play a little more this time, but I think the Cowboys also knew. I mean, anybody looking at this game, you saw how many players the Cowboys had out. You saw how their offensive line performed. You knew what our defensive line was capable of. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say anything before the game happens because we don't know with 100% certainty, but it looked like it should have been a decent victory for us. No one could have predicted 47-9, but I realistically, just looking on paper, you would have thought possibly 10 to 14 point victory for us based on just their starters, their injuries, and everything that they were dealing with. It's just surprising they didn't go trick plays or they didn't try anything too fancy. Like, they really had nothing. They had nothing for us.
They had all those injuries. That was on the defensive side of the ball, which explains how we can run down the field. Their offense is fairly healthy for them. Not saying it's a good offense. They have no rushing attack, and their offensive line is very young on there, as we discussed in our preview. So they have their limitations. They still have CeeDee Lamb, who tore us up last year, right? I mean, just 188 yards. We kept CeeDee Lamb in check, for the most part. And our defense deserves a lot of credit for, holding them in check. Our defense has been pretty good. I'd say really good out of 3 out of 5 games. Pretty good for, the Rams game. I think we were pretty good. So I'll say 4 out of 5 games. The Seahawks game, the game we were missing Brian Branch, when Geno Smith always just seems to have our number. I'm very happy with our defense. Now we're going to deal with Hutch, so that's going to change things up here. But our secondary is looking so much better than it did last year. And I guess if we're going to take those, I talked about those penalties earlier. If that's the side effect for having tight coverage, I guess we're going to have to take it because we are getting some 3-and-outs. We're getting them to punt. Yes, we occasionally give them first downs, but I guess as opposed to what we saw last year, people running wide open all over in our secondary, I'll take this 10 out of 10 times.
Right. I mean, I can only think of really that the one play when Chris Godwin scored the touchdown against the Buccaneers. That's the only time we've seen a receiver kind of running open. And that was kind of just a really good play call, kind of fell right into it.
Yep.
We've had tight coverage.
No, we've gotten in trouble for it. But like I said, I'd trade that for guys running wide open. We should mention Carlton Davis did leave for concussion protocol, but they announced today that he past it and would have been able to come back into the game, but they kept him out because it was so out of hand. So that's good news coming into next week because we're going to need our secondary healthy for next week because we got a big challenge coming. Real quick, let's talk about special teams. Jake Bates, 4 for 4 on field goals, 5 for 5 on extra points. So great day for Jake. He had a 40, a 48, and 2 33-yarders. So awesome day for Jake. I will say that every extra point he kicks, it looks like it's going to miss. And I have to look at the referee to see if he made it or not. Because on TV, it's so close to the post, I don't know if it's in or not. I don't like that. But it goes in.
Right. I don't know if he's just kicking it too hard. I mean, it's slicing through there. But yeah, he was perfect. So great game from Jake Bates.
Yeah.
Obviously, you couldn't ask for more. He's a kicker. That's what you want. Make all the times that you try.
I know. And the one extra point, again, he had to kick it after another 15-yard penalty on Amon-Ra.
Real quick, shouts out Jack Fox. Didn't need him.
Yeah.
Good game, Jack.
I thought about that. I was like, man, what an easy game paycheck, right? He doesn't
Yeah, right.
Oh, he probably is a snapper or the holder for the field goals and the extra points. So he did get out on the field, but he doesn't even do the kickoffs anymore. So he was, his leg is fully rested for next week.
Just chilling.
We're not going to need him again. We're not going to need him again next week. So, all right, let's move into the defense here, Jacob. How do you want to start this out? What do you want to talk about?
We'll just go right into it. Just touching on what I said last week was the key to victory. Shut down the running game, make them throw the ball. And I said, how well is Dak going to perform under pressure? And that the big difference is that Brian Branch is back. 100% that came to be the difference. He's just a different level player, and the defense looks way better having Branch back there. He had, 6 tackles, 2 interceptions. He had the forced fumble. Just a great game from Branch. And I think that's the biggest thing that was missing when we played the Seahawks. I think our defensive play calling was probably pretty similar. We just didn't have Branch back there. We had to rely on Joseph, and I think we also had linebackers playing coverage a little bit more against the Seahawks. So this Dallas game to have Branch back there was huge.
Yeah, I mean, the play of the game really, to me, is that first interception that he gets, Dak, and that.
Oh, yeah.
We're up 7-3 at that point. Cowboys came down, got the field goal. We scored. Then they kind of rushed right back out and got down to the red zone. And they could have scored on that. But Brian Branch peels off his man and just sees CeeDee Lamb and anticipates it. That's a full anticipation play.
Yes.
Because Branch has the guy in the flat. That's his responsibility. But as soon as he sees Dak's eyes go there, he goes right towards CeeDee Lamb. And CeeDee Lamb didn't even try for the ball. He could see Branch just undercutting it. He knew it was intercepted. So,
right.
And that totally flipped it. Then it gave us the ball, and then we go down and we get a field goal. We're up by a score, but just the offense was just too hard to stop. Our offense was just too hard to stop. So to me, that was the play of the game, that first Branch interception.
Definitely. It reminds me of when you play Madden on All Madden and you see the route you want to throw it to, and the second you push the ball to throw to that receiver, just the defender all of a sudden switches direction and goes right to your guy and picks it off. Makes you throw your controller against the wall. It was just perfect. He was in the flat. He knew. He seen the play call. He dropped back. Yeah,
so Dak was like, he was throwing his controller, right? Like, how did Branch know?
Yeah, right.
That's cheating. How did Branch know to go right back? Yeah. No, I got you. I've been there before.
He wanted to change it back to rookie difficulty.
That's my son's move. Be like, oh, Dad, I won 37-0. But the five turnovers today, huge. I mean, just they kept getting the ball back, and like Kirby got another one in the end zone. So it's like we only intercept in the end zone, which is I'm okay with because
he had one called back though. He almost got one outside of the end zone.
I know he did. It was really close. His heels were back on the back of the end zone. So yeah, it was Kirby only intercepts in the end zone. And that was probably his easiest interception that he's going to have all year. I don't know where Cooper Rush was throwing that pass because he just must have not. No one could see Kirby in the end zone. I'm convinced of this. The first game they were saying that he blended in with the end zone or whatever, but they keep throwing it towards him, and I don't know. I mean, that was just a simple pitch and catch that he took that, and he just sat down. I was glad Kirby was mature with it and just
didn't try to run it out. Yeah.
Branch's second interception was awesome. He almost scored it. He almost got it as pick six. I mean, it was
Yeah.
very close. If Dallas Cowboys wide receiver tracked him down, he really stayed in the play. If he'd have given up, yeah, Branch would have scored on that. And that would have been awesome. Just kept him getting a touchdown. But it's awesome. 4 sacks. Yesterday. Aleem had 2. Hutch had, unfortunately, on the play he got hurt. Hutch also had one called back on Jan Campbell's. He was holding Ferguson on that play. So it was great. We held them for 3 for 13 on third downs, 1 for 4 on fourth down conversion. So yeah, defense just played out of their mind. And we were pulling starters out from like the end of the third quarter on, and it was awesome.
What was their red zone touchdown percentage?
0 for 3 with 2 picks.
0.
Yeah,
right.
They threw 2 picks down.
We talked about that too. We got to tighten up in the end zone or in the red zone. They weren't a very good red zone team, and it happened to them again.
Yeah.
Goose egg.
Yeah, it was. And that tighter coverage that we talk about comes in real handy down in that red zone. That's everybody's bunched up, so it's even more critical that you get tight coverage down there. And the fact that they can't run, we could drop back. Linebackers could play their zone or play whatever they need to do. They don't have to worry about the rush. And that really, that's why our red zone is generally really good. We'll get to our offense, but I think we went 3 for 5, but one was that play that we threw to Decker. That game was out of hand. If it wasn't, we were on the 1 yard line. We run Demo right up there and get that touchdown. They got that delay game that backed it up. Their red zone, the problems that happened in the Bucs game were isolated. I'm convinced for isolated for that game only. And they learned their lesson that we're what we need to do to score when we get down there. And let's not get too cute. Anything else on the defense? I know we kind of just touched on the offense. Anything else before we move on to fully onto the offense here?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Offense, 492 yards. Goff, 18 for 25 for 315 yards with 3 touchdowns. Again, another passer rate, almost perfect passer rating. This one might have been perfect. I'm not sure. The last 2 is pretty close, but it was
close again. Yeah.
Yeah. There's only 2 quarterbacks with passer ratings above 150 in the same season. Him and Drew Brees are the only 2 quarterbacks to do it. Good company to be in. Drew Brees is one of the all-time greats, in my opinion. So just love Goff on this team. Love the way he's doing. We challenged him to get better. I think the team challenged him. I think, the fans challenged him. We challenged him on this podcast. He had to get better than the first 3 games. He's done that to the max.
Absolutely.
So
he's playing at an all-time great level for him.
Yep. So I will say that I found this interesting stat. The Lions are 4-0 this year when he has 18 completions. It's just funny. Cowboys, 18 for 25. Seahawks, 18 for 18. Cardinals, 18 for 23. Rams, 18 for 28.
Oh, so not at least 18, exactly 18.
It's exactly 18. Yeah. And so the Bucs game, he almost doubled the 18. He had 34 for 55, and that's the game we lost. So
insane that he threw that much still.
I know. Yeah, it's like Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. And like in all cases. So, but yeah, I was looking through the stats. I was like 18 for 25. Oh, he's 18 for 18. Oh, he's 18 for 23. So I thought that was interesting. So I guess once he gets to 18 completions, we just stop. We're just like, stop. We won this game.
Put Hooker in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we did this game. That's why he stopped at 18. Dan Campbell's like, he's got 18. We're done.
There'll be no 40-point comeback today.
No. I want to touch on JMO. That play where the quick pass play where they scored a touchdown. That's all JMO's speed, and that was perfect timing. If you watch that play, and I'm going to break this down on YouTube, the Cowboys are not even set. They don't even have their coverage set, and they caught
the defensive line's not even in their stance. The broadcast team, the video is not even set.
Yeah,
like nobody saw that coming.
No, and if you watch the end zone, I watched the All-22 on it. It is crazy. They get set up, and Frank just snaps it almost immediately, because you almost never see that. There's always got to survey the defense, read it, whatever. They just knew that they're going to run that, and JMO just runs right by Diggs. and he's a full 2 yards past him. And Goff, to his credit, didn't throw. He threw kind of I won't say it's a perfect spiral. It wasn't a duck. It was somewhere in the middle, but it gets to go. It gets to Jameson perfectly, and he hauls in the touchdown. So that was great to see.
Yeah, the placement was perfect. And I mean, that was the perfect kind of play call because you can't give someone like Jameson Williams an extra step or two.
No.
And that's exactly what he got over Diggs, and there was just no way he was going to catch back up to him.
No, it just took Goff hitting him in stride and just not overthrowing him, and he dropped it in there perfectly. I will say the other thing that I found was really impressive, Jameson dropped that pass, that crosser, right at the end of the first quarter there, and then the very next play they go right back to him, and he catches an even more difficult pass than what he dropped, and it was great for two things. Goff showing confidence in JMO, like, hey, we're going to go right back to you. And then JMO coming through and just saying, okay, I got this, and has the concentration. I'm sure it was a lack of concentration. The first crosser that he dropped, that was the Lions' first drop of the season by any wide receiver. That was our first drop of the season, that one right there, which was about one of the easiest passes, and he should have taken that one to the house.
Yeah, right. No, but it was very good call to go right back to him, let him brush that one off quick and not sit on it too long, get a first down on the next catch.
Yep.
And it's right back to business.
And let's talk about, we talked about David Montgomery's contract. He had multiple awesome runs. My two favorites were the first touchdown run he had, that 16-yard touchdown, just as a huge gap, runs in there, guy's pulling at him, he does a spin, breaks out of the tackle, and just bullies his way into the end zone. Love that. The second one was about halfway through the second quarter. He's running to the sideline, and that's where he broke like 4 tackles. And then, the last one he breaks, and Trayvon Diggs is just looking at him like he thought
he just puts an arm on him. He didn't even.
Yeah, he makes a business decision, but I think he thought the other guy was going to tackle him, and you're not going to. It takes more than one guy to take Demo down, and so Monty just keeps impressing us, keeps impressing me. Loved that. Loved the game for him, and like you said, didn't play that much, but had a heck of a game.
Yeah, he's just relentless. Every carry that he gets. So you try to bring me down, I'm going to the house.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a great example for everybody. We haven't even talked about the reverse flea flicker again that we ran. Slightly different variation from the last one that we ran last year versus Carolina, but same result. Touchdown to Laporta. Yeah, it's a great pass and a great catch by Laporta.
Right. Yeah, and for him to dive into the end zone like that, he knew they were right on him. I mean, top to bottom, that was just a great play.
It was. Yeah, and they had a younger defense and just inexperienced defense, and they're going to bite on that. And Laporta was just wide open. It was great to see. When I watching Monday Night Football, I don't know if you're watching it right now, but on a flea flicker play, Aaron Rodgers got sacked on a flea flicker.
I saw that. It's good. Got sacked again like another play later.
Yeah. It'll make Jeremy Reisman very happy. He hates the flea flicker play in the NFL, so you get Aaron Rodgers sacked on it, and he'll like that.
After that play happened, he posted on Twitter. He said that was not a flea flicker. It doesn't count.
Oh, okay. Nice.
How about the Lions?
Oh, the Lions, really?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He said it doesn't count as a flea flicker.
No. Oh, because of the double reverse angle? Yeah, sure.
Right. No, that was like the first instance of showing what we were about to do and kind of the trick play and the different opening up the playbook. Real quick, because I know we talked about Montgomery, we didn't say anything about Gibbs. And Gibbs had a pretty good game, too. I mean, they each had 12 carries, but Gibbs is so fast, he really was 5-6 yards down the field before they even hit him. And there were a couple plays where I think that the defenders thought because it was Gibbs that maybe he was going to go down easier, that he was going to be an easier tackle. And Gibbs was running right to take your head off, too. I mean, he's learning that from Montgomery, I guess. They get this reputation where Montgomery is like the bulldozer and Gibbs is the lightning quick one that's going to be shiftier. Montgomery's shifty. He's elusive. He's fast. And Gibbs is not easy to bring down either. I mean, he's not shying from contact. He's not going down easy.
Yeah, there's just so much overlapping between them, and we've talked about that on the podcast previously. It's not a lightning and thunder type thing. There's just so much overlap. I mean, yes, Demo is better at breaking tackles, in my opinion, Gibbs has more high-end speed than David Montgomery. And I honestly, I'm shocked that Gibbs doesn't have a really long touchdown. But just watching the game yesterday, just watching the replay, a couple thoughts to me is like he's running so fast sometimes that he runs into defenders. Like instead of like if he was a little more patient and just like it wasn't running type end speed, he'll make a cut. So I'm hoping with maturity that he learns that skill and that once he gets an open space, he knows that he doesn't have to hit top end speed until he's past the defender. Let the blocks develop, let that defender commit and then go. Yes, he's great at juking. He's got amazing vision. I just think that he's doing better than last year. I'm seeing growth from last year, but he's still a couple times that game that he could have, if he just, once he got to the second level, if he'd have just slowed down just a step, he could have probably taken a couple of those to the house. I really believe that. Because once he gets on the other side of the defense, no one's going to catch him.
Right, for sure. It's making that safety miss in the corner and trying to hit that spot instead of initiating the contact. Even if he's like running towards the out of bounds, it seems like when he stiff arm Winfield or throws a shoulder right before he goes out.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that he doesn't have to initiate the contact. He could slow down and just like juke the guy and go because he's got that ability. I mean, we showed that. You just mentioned the Winfield play. He did that to Winfield. He slowed down a second, juked one way and went the other way and just used his speed to get by him and then slowed down enough to stiff arm him. So I still think Gibbs has more to learn and you're going to see another level once he develops that skill. I'm convinced of that.
And there's no pressure for him. Like we said, 2 running backs, there's no pressure for him to constantly be out there and taking extra damage, or there's just no knock on wood as long as they're both staying healthy. They're both complementing each other.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing duo. We're just so lucky to have
the best in the league.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question now for me that they're the best in the league. Now, McCaffrey and Mason could be up there if they were both healthy. I'd say that they'd be up there, but no one is playing at the level other than Derrick Henry of Demo right now. No one is, and he's just so hard to take down. You get first and goal on the one. There's no question with our offensive line that Demo's not going to get in that end zone. There's no question.
Even if we have to do it 4 times, do it 4 times then. One of those he's getting in.
Oh, he's going to get in, and yeah, it ain't going to take 4 times. I can tell you that, but whatever. We'll keep doing it, and then Jared Goff will trick him with the rollout, and then he'll score a rushing touchdown.
Right. That one play, I think it was when they threw it to Decker. That was when Demo lined up at fullback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was kind of interested because was that Hesse then that was like all the way back?
I think so. Yeah,
I think he was half back, and then they had Montgomery fullback right there in the middle. And then I was kind of wondering, okay, are they going to try to pitch it to Hesse? Or are they going to really run up the middle from fullback with Demo?
Yeah.
And it was all just a ploy so that they could try to throw it to Decker, who wasn't open, and Goff still threw a pretty good ball that if he had better hands, he might have came down with it.
Yeah, the defender was pretty much on him, and he got his hands in there, but Decker still made a good stab at it. He still looked pretty athletic, like to make he didn't look like a tackle out there trying to catch that, in my opinion. His hands were right on the ball.
It was close,
put it in a spot, but it is what it is. I will mention that now we're mentioning the running game. Vaki had a really nice run at the end of the game. I was really happy. I was hoping they were going to put Vaki in. I knew that they had to put Craig in. Let's give Craig some touches. He hasn't got much touches this year. There's been no need to. But Vaki had a really nice juke and got some yardage. I was really happy to see him and really happy to see Hendon Hooker get in there and throw a 19-yard completion on his first pass attempt. So that was nice.
For sure. Let everybody get involved while we're having fun here, decimating the Cowboys.
Yes. It was. Oh, man, in Jerry's world on Jerry's birthday.
On his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah, that was nice. That's like 10 years of pent up getting beat by the Cowboys, and 2 of them in ridiculous fashion. And as far as like referee calls or weird calls or however you want to word it. So it was it was nice.
The Seahawks the last game, and now the Cowboys this game.
I know we got 49ers in a few weeks, so
Yeah.
we'll
A few
return the
weeks.
favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Pretty
little
far
bit
out,
in
but
there. Yeah,
it's still an important game to us.
it is. So, all right, we kind of mentioned this early on, but our grit guarantees last week were I predicted David Montgomery with 2 touchdowns, positive. Jacob went even bold. He went really bold, I thought. Hold the Cowboys under 300 yards of offense. Yep, we did that. Lions did that. So that was
Nailed it.
I was shocked, especially how the first 2 drives the Cowboys went down, got down, scored field goal, and then got down the red zone. First 2 drives, I was like, "Ooh, that's going to be tough to keep them under 300 yards." But
They had that deflection on the first drive, and I think they had like one really big play on the second one. Outside of that, really great defensive game, obviously.
Yeah,
Which I saw coming. I called it.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're amazing, Jacob. I don't need to tell you that. You tell yourself that enough. So, but no, great game. Felt really good about it. And that leads us into next week. Huge game that we're going to be talking about. And looks like we're lining up a pretty good guest to talk to us about the Vikings. We'll hold that as a secret until we release it Thursday morning. But really looking forward to looking into the Vikings. I like our chances next week. The Hutch thing is kind of puts a little question mark on it. If Hutch was playing, I'd say the Lions they've looked to prove a point this week, and they're going to look to prove another one next week that we are the leaders of this division. It's for first place in the division next week. So if we win, we got the tiebreaker, and we'll have the same record as the Vikings, and we'll have that tiebreaker. So, but the rest of the division,
it's a huge test for us.
It is
in Minnesota.
But I also, it's a huge test for Minnesota too. They want to prove that they are what their record says they are. They want to prove that. They've got pressure on them too. Lions need to just weather the storm in the first half, and the Vikings have not played well in the second half, whether that's because they've been up so much. I'd like to put them in a close game situation, which they haven't been in lately, and just see how they do. But I told you that
they had the game against the 49ers. They had the close game against the Packers. The Jets in London was not exactly a huge blowout for them either.
No.
But the teams that they really did beat by a lot were the Texans, which was a really impressive win for them, and then the Giants, which that was week 1. We kind of thought the Giants were going to be good, but I mean, the Giants have kind of showed some fight too. So, and they have a bye week. So they're trying to see the game against the Cowboys to see what they're up against, and they're worried now.
Yeah.
Now they know.
They just saw it. I mean, we scored over 40 in the last 2 weeks now. Vikings are good defense, but they had this tricky defense last year, and the Lions figured it out on those 2 games. And this is a tough offense to crack, and we can go multiple on this. As long as Goff throws 18 completions, we're good. That's all. As soon as he hits 18, we're done. Run the whole way. So, all right, Jacob, I think we're about ready to wrap up. Anything else that's on your mind? All right. Well, for Jacob, I'm Jason. Victory Monday. We'll get this out on Tuesday, but one thing to say, go Lions.